Tooro, one of the largest kingdoms in Uganda. It's located on the western side of the country, 250 kilometers away from Kampala, Uganda's capital, and covering over 5 districts. That is Chinjojo, Chegwegwa, Kasese, Karugutu, and Kabarore, being the center point within the main city, Fort Portal. People from this kingdom are called Batoro and their king, Omukama. Tooro Kingdom was part of the great large Bunyoro Kitara Empire, which dates back in the 16th century.
In 1836, Tooro was part of Bunyoro Kitara Kingdom.
Tooro ekabikyali mukama na Bunyoro. Hanyuma,
it was under the leadership of King Chebambe Nyamtukura.
Wakali mukama wa Bunyoro Kitara na Tooro erumu.
It is said that when King Nyamtukura aged, he got weak and couldn't serve his people effectively.
Akaba takyasobora kuha abantu kuhereza abantu kukubakanira byetaaga mu mulingo gwabo.
According to Batoro, Prince Olimi Kaboyo Kasunsukwanzi, son of the Bunyoro Kitara king, took over the southern province of his father's kingdom and declared himself as king.
Nyamtukura's oldest son ganged with some of Banyoro against him and took over one of the kingdom provinces.
Akakoragana n'Abatooro n'Abanyoro abantu b'Omukama abandi. Banhera ngu Omukama ono takyatwikiriza genda kwetungira ebintu baitu. Nabweki kyakwera kirungi tumurugeho nitwe tutunga obukama bwaitu bundi.
He was warmly received by the locals and accepted as their Omukama Kaboyo Olimi, hence being the first king of the Tooro Kingdom. Tooro has had 11 kings, with Omukama Oyo Kabamba Iguru as their current king.
Kaboyo Chebambe was the first king of Tooro Kingdom. Tooro has had 11 kings, with Kaboyo Kasunsukwanzi being the first king and Oyo Nyimba Kabamba Iguru Rukidi Okana being the current king.
Oyo Nyimba Kabamba Iguru Rukidi Okana atora kaicha
Marriage is one of the most important aspects of the Batoro culture.
In our Tooro culture, marriage is a treasure, because in the first place, marriage is a foundation of any community. It's the foundation of any community, so it is valued.
In ancient Tooro, a girl would leave her parents' home to start her family at the age of 14. This has currently changed due to the modernization, government laws, and education systems.
In the past years, during the times of my grandmother, girls were actually married off at a very young age. I remember my grandmother told me she was married when she was 14. But today, if you married somebody's daughter off at the age of 14, it is criminal. Meaning that with the current state of modernization, education, people getting enlightened, exposed, that tendency of oppressing the girl child has been actually fought by mostly government. So the maturity age of a woman who can get married can begin now from the age of 18.
Getting a marriage partner was a role of the elders in one of the family. Marrying from your family is prohibited.
Okay, in the past, it used to be families used to arrange these marriages. You find people used to build close to one another, and there is clan A there, and there's clan B here, clan C, So it is not, it is an abomination to marry from the same clan. So as these old ladies and women grew, and men, they would identify a particular home, a home of character, a home of dignity, and that is where they would identify a child or a girl who's going to be married to their son. This thing of I've fallen in love, was not there.
To take a girl for marriage, you have to pay a bride price to the girl's parents.
Yes, it is a must that bride price should be paid. Yeah. But with this today it is negotiable. It depends. But before, it was a must. Yeah. The significance was that this girl is committed in a sense that the boys' side brought these gifts or the bride price, and therefore that bride price commits you to stay there, because these your parents will not be willing to take back the bride price unless really the marriage is not working out, and for very strong reasons.
Gertrude is so much worried about the deterioration of the Tooro marriage culture style due to the modernization and intermarriages among different tribes.
Originally, our culture was rich, but not very expensive. Whereas today, it is being diluted by people borrowing from different cultures. Our children are going to school and they're invited by their friends in Kampala. So the Baganda have different cultures when they are giving away their daughters. The Bakonjo have different cultures. Their activities are different when they are giving away their daughters. But when my daughter goes, for example, to Kasese, she would love to borrow something from there. And then the next time, when we are here performing the ceremony, she would say, I saw so-and-so was putting on this. Whereas in our culture, we do not do that. But they insist, and then we say, as long as it does not affect. In other words, the young generation these days are coming up with too much of modernized culture and diluting our original culture. And then sometimes I get scared and say that one day our culture will become mixed and lose track.
Batoro people are commonly known for their agriculture, being the biggest economic activity. They grow plants like bananas, maize, cassava, millet, and also rare animals like cattle, goats, chicken, and pigs for both meat and milk production. After harvesting, they store their produce in locally made small round grass-roofed houses commonly known as granaries. Batoro traditional food is kalo. It is made out of mixing cassava and millet flour. Hospitality and welcoming is one of the most important aspects in Tooro Kingdom. If you visit a Motoro family, you will receive a warm welcome from both husband and wife. You are given then fried coffee beans and later milk in a locally made cup. Unlike any other kingdom, Tooro is recognized for its uniqueness of the Mpako or petty name.
We are usually identified by what we call Mpako, or what you can call a pet name, and mine is Atoki.
Mpako is a gift given to us by the gods and discovered by our ancestors, and we are so proud of it. When a visitor comes to Tooro and shows a good heart, they must be named Mpako.
Mpako is a sign of peace or a symbol of identification for Batoro from any other tribe.
Mpako is very important because even when we are greeting, we have to say our Mpako to the person we are greeting, and they also have to say theirs to us.
kandi buri kubutamumanyire nusimbira kumukaguza empako yawe nagambira empako ye rundi nomugambire yawe ekini yakabaye bisoyitya to kandi muntu kwete empako.
Empako is a very big honor in our culture.
Nayo utungikitisa utungira empako sanona
Empako can end misunderstandings among people. If two people are going to fight and kill each other, one would raise his hands and say, "Apuli, don't kill me." Apuli would calm down because they have called his empako, which is a symbol of respect and dignity. Apuli would put down the weapon, and they hug and misunderstandings end.
Empako is given to someone by elders after having Batoro traditional food, kalo, with all the family members. You sit for 4 times on the elder's lap as they speak your empako.
Arali. Empako yawe, arali. Empako yawe, arali.
Wow! Now, there are 12 petty names. There is Alali, Apuli, Bala, and Achali. Those 4 are only given to men. Another very important empako is Okali. It's only given to our king. No one else can get it. The other ones are Abwoli, Atoki, Akiki, Adjeli, and Atienyi. These are shared by both men and women.
Ladies from Tooro Kingdom wear Sutu as their traditional or local outfit. It comprises of a suka or shawl, a chitetei chakafuba, a chitambi, a mitalabanda, and a mawino agomubicha.
When Tooro lady is at home, they don't hold this suka like this. She puts it here like this. She puts on arm bracelets and necklaces made out of small beads. Also when home, she puts these lines in her hair. They are called ebirambi byabakayukuru. This is how we must dress. When home, we don't put on shoes, we just walk barefooted. Batoro dress like this when they have functions, visitors, or even going for prayers.
This is an advancement from the early days, as they would wear a bilaji or tea leaves, animal skins, backcloth to cotton. A sutu is made out of silk and cotton fabric. As for men, they wear a kanzu with a heart made out of backcloth. Tooro Kingdom is divided into 3 classes of people, and these are Babitu, commonly known as the royal family, the agriculturists, and that being pastors or cattle keepers. Each class has its own traditional dance.
Amakondere is a royal dance and it is danced for the king during all the ceremonies that happen in the palace. Say like for example, Mpango. Mpango is a day to celebrate when the king was given the drum, the royal drum, to rule that community. Like here in Tooro, in every 12th of September, we celebrate Mpango. So there, we dance In fact, we jump. We call it to jump, not to dance. Amakondere bagaguruka. We jump the makondere dance. Then the other dance is of the Bahuma. Bahuma, those are cattle keepers, pastoralists. These Bahumas, their traditional dance is called Enanga, and this is mostly performed by women. And then the man, they sing for cows. They call it Ebijengo or Ebzenaviente, cow songs. But for the Nanga, for women, women are praising their men, their husbands, and they play a traditional harp that produces music. And there they dance, and they feel happy, and they enjoy.
The last and leading dance is Olunyege dance, commonly known as dance for the agriculturists.
This Olunyege dance, its original is still a mystery, but we believe it was got from the making of the local traditional beer called the Tonto. The Tonto beer is made from the bananas, which they rip bananas, and then they are put in a trench down there. We squeeze it to get juice. After juice, you get the fried sorghum. You smash it or mill it. After milling the sorghum, then you mix the sorghum with the juice. There you get the beer. And that beer, when it is covered in a boat, a traditional boat made from a tree or a wood, in 2 days when it is covered, you get the beer. And then people, after taking that beer, they get happy and excited, as it is today. Then they end up dancing. But if you watch them dancing, the footsteps of the dance are exactly similar with when they are stamping these bananas, ripe bananas in the trench to produce juice and make a tonto. So that theory, it is hiking, it is leading, that is the exact original of the dance.
While dancing, dancers follow the rhythmatic patterns of the drums and singing voices. The region is gifted by natural attractions, which includes over 4 game reserves and mountains like Mountain Rwenzori.
We have plenty of attractions. Many of them are natural attractions. We are surrounded by 4 national parks. Kibale National Park, which has chimpanzees. It has other primates like monkeys, and the endangered red colobus monkey, and lots of birds in the national park. We have the Rwenzori Mountains National Park, which is also close to us. We have the Semliki National Park, which has hot springs, as well as connects to the national parks in Congo. Then we have the Semliki Wildlife Reserve, which connects to Lake Albert. Besides those, we have other attractions outside the national parks. We have the crater lakes. This area is very rich in that kind of thing because we have over 55 crater lakes. We are in a volcanic area. Then we have the Rift Valley, which goes north from here. Then we have caves, we have waterfalls, rivers, and then we have a very nice area for walking in, for walks.
It is in the same region that you will find geographic formations like the stalagmites and stalactites, commonly known as limestone rocks, locally called Amaberega Nyinamwiru, also known as breasts of Nyinamwiru.
This area, it is one of the famous areas in Fort Portal, and it is the 7th wonders we have in Uganda, with its famous limestone futures, stalactites and stalagmites, and being the only area in the whole of the country with its famous limestone features, so they recognize it to be the famous area.
Stalagmites and stalactites are formed when the water flows down through the ground into a cave. It dissolves a mineral called calcite and carries it through the cracks in the ceiling. The dripping water leaves behind traces of calcite, which slowly builds up on the ceiling and forms stalagmites, while on the ground, stalactites. When these two rocks meet, they form what is known as pillars or columns.
Now stalagmites accumulate upwards, stalactites downwards, and then eventually after decades of years they meet. When they meet, they form a column here, which we term as pillars, composed of pure calcium carbonate. So that means they are all in the process of carbonation, chemical and physical weathering, and that is by means of geology and climatology processes.
Locals also have their own interpretation of these landmarks, which points back to the ancient early settlers of the region known as the bachuazi, rulers of the earth.
These Amabere Ganginamwiru to come into existence, or people to make that interpretation, it was after the settlement of those ancestral people, Abatwezi. During their stay, one of the king called Bukuku, who was by then a gatekeeper of the king called Isaza, and Bukuku got a chance after the loss of their biggest king called Isaza. So now, Bukuku being a king, he had a daughter called Nyinamwiru, who was beautiful. A number of men wanted to marry her. But then the king didn't want her to get married after having been foretold that when she gets married, she will come out pregnant and produce a baby boy. So for that case, he didn't allow her to get married. He protected her, and then later consulted the wise men, having an option of killing her because of her beauty. But he was advised by them never to kill her because she was innocent. So instead, he came up with an idea to deform her, where he chopped off one of her breasts and then plucked off one of her eyes to make her ugly and men would admire her. But later, he felt to be on the safe side, yet the daughter became more wise than him, where one time she contacted the maids in the palace who took her concerns outside, and there was a best friend of them, a prince called Ssempala, who came with an idea to get married to her. Ssempala, his mission was to inherit his father's kingdom. He came having a mission to get married to the king's daughter, then she would come up pregnant and produce a baby boy who was going to succeed. So when he came up with that mission, he came passing via behind the palace. He knew if he could pass through the main gate, there was a problem. Then he contacted the maids who made ladders behind, and he jumped in. And then later, when he jumped in, his mission was to escape away the daughter, but it was impossible. Then through that process, he impregnated the daughter. Then later, after jumped back and disappeared. A few months later, she got delivered a baby boy. Now he had to do what he had promised. He told the maids in the palace to kill the baby. But then remember that the same people who made mission, they didn't follow his idea. They pretend to, where they took the baby and didn't kill him. They dumped him somewhere in the jungle. And according to the research, they found that the baby was dumped here at one of the river banks where we've been. And when the baby was crying there, so later there was a clay pot maker running around, and then that guy was a mining client modeling. That was his special work. And at one time he discovered a baby, which was a surprise on his side, and where he was much concerned to know the origin of that baby. So when he was researching, he found that the other guys in the palace, they're the ones who brought in the baby, and yet they were best friends of him. So at one time he went and told them, where he didn't know that the ones who brought in the baby, and he gave them the whole information. So whereby local people, the natives around, they learnt it that the potter lived in here with a baby, but they didn't know that the potter had a cow. So they're all wondering which method did he use to feed the baby. And whereby, according to their research, they knew that he was living in a region of breasts, and then he could have been using a method to breastfeed the baby from those breasts which we have within these caves. After having observed that we have the breasts with milk coming through, and that's where they came up with that interpretation. So all in all, they interpreted them as the breasts of Nyinamwiru because her baby might have survived from there. So then the news spread everywhere, and everyone learnt it that the place called Nyakasura has caves with breasts which feeded the baby boy around.
When in Tooro, expect nice conducive accommodation with high levels of professionalism in hotel services, nice foods, clean eco air, organized town, nice nightclubs for the nightlife, accessible roads, and nice people. Tooro, the world's one-stop center